is two things. One plane, air, and today was water. I'm getting it as something, and I'm so glad you're joining me. In this episode, we're taking sail on a journey for one of the oldest and the most important forms of transportation in human history. Water transportation. From ancient rock made of reeds to modern container ships that carry goods across oceans, water transportation has helped civilization, both global trade and connected began long before ancient and techniques ever existed. But how exactly has it evolved? What makes it so central in today, and what the future holds for transportation by sea, rivers, and canals? Well, we dive into fascinating ways of history and how this flow of transport affect our environment and economy. Whether it's cruise ships, ferries, fishing boats, or tankers, you can see what the conditions in all new light by the end of this. So, get your life jacket, or maybe just your headphones, and let's embark on the 30-minute voyage across the world waterway. Now, here we meet two respondents. Um, Sir, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, my name is Dani, and I am from today. I will be answering some of the discussion about water transportation. As yes, probably don't know that I am one of the few water experts around this located area. So, for her to ask me about water transportation is one of the best selected choices she have right now. Maybe that's what my approach.
How about you, sir?
Okay, first of all, my name is Ryan Alfebria, and I'm from Samarinda, especially in the downtown of Samarinda. And in this place, I will talk about my opinion about the water transportation here in Indonesia, especially in Mahakam River, is Kalimantan. Okay,
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ramadhani and Mr. Rahman. So now, yeah, I have five questions about the water transportation. I hope you can answer clearly, so you can give me knowledge about water transportation. So the first question is, my first transportation is often seen out out there. What's your take on this perception?
Hmm. Well, first of all, to the people that said it is outdated, well, certainly it is outdated as it is stated that it is one of, if not the oldest, transport ways of transportation since the beginning of humanity. But even though it is one of the oldest, it is still one of the reliable ways to transport stuff from place to place. Because of why? First of all, our world map. Even though that land transportation is sometimes way more efficient, you can say, water transportation is currently still one of the most efficient, used, and one of the most effective way to transport because of our geography right now. As you can see, beside us is a river. Usually there is transportation boats around this area right now, but maybe because of the rain, it doesn't show up. But even though it is still dangerous, it's still on the wireless. the most innovative and one of the most mind-breaking ideas ever created. And maybe it is still one of the mind-blowing ideas right now to the date. And what about your opinion, Mr. Rehan?
Okay, I think a lot of people say the water transportation is outdated. It is because they compare it with the what with the land transportation and the air transportation, which is more faster and more flexible than the water transportation. But people don't see how the water transport can bring a, a bulk, a lot of goods than the other transportation like truck, train, or plane. And then, as we know, Indonesian infrastructure is above the standard right now. We can see a lot of place cannot accessible with to main vehicle like air transportation and then transportation like truck, plane, train because lack of infrastructure like Makamulu. Makamulu is only accessible with the water transportation. And then uh, yeah, and then yeah, we know that the people of Kalimantan is use river as a main highway. You can see the river. It's like a highway. It's like a highway because it's wide.
Opinion,
Yeah,
the old
yeah.
so what interesting Napoleon from Highland Michael
Experience. Well, from my perspective, water transportation is one of the longest and enjoyable transportation right now because of the beautiful sceneries, slow pacing, uh, slow pacing speed, and the spacious room usually from the boats. Well, first of all, uh, even though that most boats as a way to transport goods from place to place, it is also can be used as a way to transport people. And from my experience, that transportation through boat or ship is, in my opinion, was more enjoyable than transportation through plane or train. Because why? First, it is one of the most beautiful sightseeing stuff that you ever seen on this planet. Because of the wide variety view of the ship that is you are riding, it contains many beautiful sightseeing stuff. Like currently, this it is very beautiful view, and you can easily see it on air or land. The second is the slow pacing speed for the boat. Most people find that very non-efficient stuff, right? But in my opinion, even though it is not very efficient, it is an enjoyable stuff because you can see the sights of view from the ships around it, and you can communicate through the stuff from the people around the ship itself. Because most of the time, uh, the crews on the ship is very friendly and hardworking. So, in my opinion, even though it is not fast as a train or plane, it is still an enjoyable ride. And maybe that's my opinion. What about you, Krishna?
Uh, First of all, I have experience about riding water transportation, like to like from one place to another place. I experienced that about 5 years or 6 years ago. I went to Moalbada and went to famous one of the famous beach in Moalbada, which is another island in the coast of Moalbada. And, and to go there, we must use all the transportation. Yeah, I think is. Oh yeah, and then I have one experience, but it is different than before. I experienced use the speedboat from Balikpapan to Penajam. It was for $20,000, and then yeah, I experienced that the because of speedboat, it's very fast. Yeah, it's very fast, and the water can spark to your face. Uh, and then I have one experience, but it's way more different than the other that I said. It's floating market in Banjarmasin. Floating, floating apa? Floating market in Banjarmasin. I think it's fascinating because I see people socialize, tread above of the river. They use boat come to the trader, and then they socialize, they trade in above the river. I think that's
Oh, Mr. Neha, I think we have the same experience about water purification. So, when I am tired, I also use speedboat
yeah,
from Balikpapan and Penajam.
yeah.
It's that interesting experience what about for me. Question number three. What are the hidden potential of river transportation that most people often realize?
Hidden potentials of ships. Well, even though I am one of the experts, I don't see a lot of hidden potentials, but there are some hidden benefits from using a ship rather than a train or a plane. One of the benefits from using a ship rather than a plane or train is that you can access more uh, remote areas around around the geography of the world Earth. Because in Indonesia there is a lot of uh, islands, right? So some of those islands are inaccessible through train, and even though we can use plane, but some of the islands there are not accessible, and the plane can't land around there. So by using boat, you can access it through some remote areas or around the islands there because uh, you can first of all you can easily park around the island so that you can visit it anytime when the boat is ready. And the second of all, it is currently one of the only way to access such remote island. And back to the topic. As I said before, even though you can use planes for to move there are probably two major issues if you're using planes. First of all, the cost issue. Compared to ships, planes have a higher cost for abort. And the second is it is not very usually not very accessible for common people. Uh, because for common people, planes are can be considered luxury, while boats are mostly used to for common people to transport uh, from place to place. And boats is also one of the access points to certain islands or certain checkpoints that are considered remote around the Indonesia's geography. And maybe from my vision, that is the only hidden benefit from using a boat or ship compared to train and plane. What about you, Mr. Al?
I think a hidden potential of water transportation is water transportation use fewer carbon than the other transportation. But why? It is because you know that water transportation is can bring the goods is above the rate in than the other transportation like trucks, train, or plane. Because of that, it was only like one ship can bring the goods up for 40 trucks. So you can see that the use of carbon emission that is more fewer than the other transportation. And then second is transportation. You know that river can be also major tourist major tourist spot. Like I don't know the name of the boat, tourist boat in Samarinda, but I think it still has a lot of potential. We can make Samarinda like Shanghai or Moscow or Paris maybe to develop the tourist water transportation tourists. And then I think I have the same opinion about Dani about the remote area. Yeah, you know that remote area still inaccessible to the road transportation. Truck cannot access through the location. And planes, yeah, maybe they can access to the remote area, but it's more expensive than the ship one. I think it's all my opinion about it. River transportation potential.
Karen, what your opinion? Why are you think Samarinda can be like Shanghai?
Yeah, I think it's someone that has potential to be the Shanghai because we have a same river, same white river, and in Shanghai, a large ship can pass through the Mahakam River, and then Samarinda also has like a riverside, like what riverside than the other city in like Pontianak, and we cannot see the river like this, like like in Pontianak or Banjarmasin. You know that the about Rumah Panggung in the street. It, it we cannot see through the river. If if we see river through, I think that's yeah, about why some place like this.
And honestly, thank you. Because your opinion can show me even Manhattan Hyper has a big potential for maybe industry or for tourists. Question number four: how can technology help drive the transformation of hyper transportation?
Uh, Technologies. Well, currently, even though ships and boats are one of the oldest ways of transportation, it is not the most developed transportation. Unlike planes or cars, cars and trains have a better technology, you could say, that developed them more as the world evolved. Like cars right now have some very advanced AI, and some of them can even interact with the driver. And same as the plane, some of the plane has a function that is called autopilot. While most ships, not all ships, most planes must be piloted by two-person. Sometimes you can use the idle pilot feature for one of the person to take a break, right? But ships don't have an auto pilot feature, and the GPS are one of the oldest models right now, because that is why ships is not considered or not the safest, but it is still very good. So, in my opinion, how can technologies affect it, right? Well, if we implemented not one implemented a more advanced AI for the ships, we can reduce the uh, lethality for the ships of the upcoming days that will come. And you could say that for there is an accident, right? I don't know when, but it is said that the ship ran over, not ran one of the bridge's foot, right? So make that bridge is closed for a few weeks or so. But what if we implemented an advanced AI to the ship? Maybe, just maybe, the accident will not happen because one, it will have more it will have a more accessible and more easier way to navigate. And I predict that one of the issues from the accident is that they don't have a clear way of navigating their routes, right? Even though ships are the most to access a remote area, it is not the best transport to navigate said area. That is why I recommend we implement advanced AI just like the cars, right? So if we can implement that, we can make the ships a way better transport than the cars or the train. And what about you, Mr. Hamid?
I think I implemented in ship is only for navigation, not for the autopilot like the car or the plane. It is because I can I still cannot predict about the wind condition, about the river flows, and about the. I think that's all my opinion.
Okay, uh, talk about accident. So before we go to question number five, so can you tell me about your opinion about uh, the the accident which happened in Mahakam River? And do you have solution about that?
I think because of my idea is using AI for navigation, like build a sensor to the map of it, so that the AI will know the sensor and then make a sound as early warning system to alert the captain to orient the ship again. And then I think the next solution is build a canal for the ship, because you don't have to see the bridge and the ship kissing each other.
Yeah.
So the bridge is closed and we cannot access the another point of submarine. It, yeah, I think it's my opinion about about that, and about your
Um, my opinion on the accident is that it's a very very stupid accident. Not gonna lie, because first of all, the way that the ship touch the pillar of the bridge, it is very very unresponsible for the captain of the ship to remember. And there are probably a few issues around that incident. Well, first of all, as Mr. Ahad said, that they probably don't have a way to navigate such pillars, and they don't have a way to detect it as well. So, as Mr. Ahad said, that we should implement AI to the ship and implement a type of signal for the around the Mahakam, right? So that the ship can detect said signal and to can try to avoid or make a turn to the signal which conditions is right. But for my opinion, uh, the AI should be considered as a radar, because a radar is much more useful right now and more accessible compared to AI. And second of all, instead of signal, we can replace it by a type of signal wave around the Mahakam River. Because, first of all, sound waves are a more way accessible way to signal radars, and it is more compatible to radars. And the second of all is probably the crew itself on the ship. Well, even though the ship itself didn't cause a lot of damage, you could say, but it is still a accident worthy to noteworthy accident to take on precautions, because if the captain doesn't see and doesn't able to see it, that means that the crew in the ship that isn't aware of the place that they will be coming. That is why, in my previous statement, that radar is a must on every ship, whenever it's small or big or small, fast or slow. As radar system is one of the most essential way for boats to navigate rivers, sea, and lakes. Maybe that's my opinion.
Okay. Um, I think from the topic before, you both talk about AI and also what can have and can it be solution about hyper teleportation. Why are you thinking about that?
Well, what am I thinking about that? Because let's be honest, the world is always evolving. and so does humanity. So, when humanity evolves, technology indirectly also evolves with humanity. That is why we can't always rely on traditional stuff. So, that is why I recommend using AI. Even though it is not accessible, not very accessible right now, but as Rehan said on the previous statement, that maybe to 20 to 30 years, that AI will be a very accessible tool for transportation and whatnot. That is why if we can implement AI as soon as possible, then it will make our ways of transportation to be a more safe, efficient, and most enjoying stuff that will be happening. Okay?
About opinion about AI. Yeah, as I stated before, and Danny said, like we are evolving. We can see about the advancement of the AI. We can see the AI growth rapidly from maybe 2022. We can see AI is still AI only still on ChatGPT on, and now in 2025 we can see ChatGPT is advanced than 2 years, 3 years before. I think 5 or 10 years maybe AI will help the people to navigate the ship. Maybe autopilot can enable to in this area, in this river. I think that's all my opinion.
How do you think the accident which happened in Malcolm River is happened about human error?
Yes, yes,
So you think AI and autopilot can be solution um, for that?
Absolutely.
yeah.
That wow. Okay, I think we can go to the last question.
Yeah.
Last question is if you could design Indonesia's river transportation system for scratch, what are the first three things you would do?
Hmm. The first thing I would do if I could resign the river transportation from scratch is first of all implement AI. That is must right now and in the future because AI will make our lives more easier and way more enjoyable. And the second is the redesign on the ship's model. Well, compared to you can say ships for well currently there are two types of ships right now. Uh, Transport ships and tourist ships right now, right? Because first of all, ships that for transport goods is called container ships that it is considered used specifically for transport goods, while cruise ships are used for tourist sites and people transportation. But what if we can try to redesign the two types of ships of this by making the transport ships more faster, efficient, and cost efficient by making them use less coal and more space around the ships so that it contains more goods as future goes on. While on the third side is that we could try to uh, widen the ship's volume so that it could contain more people around it so that we can attract more tourists around the area. And the third that I would design is the ways ships the ways ships navigate stuff, because currently ships has the most unreliable way to navigate ways, because ship right now is currently is the only manual navigating vehicle, unlike cars, train, or plane. Cars right now has a way to navigate more efficiently and more accurately, while train uses a trail system that they can just follow along the ways. They just have to remember each turn and each stops. While the plane is also has a manual system like ships, but they have a more advanced way to navigate stuff and communicate through its communicative towers around the airport. That is why I recommend that we implement a better solution and better way to navigate ships along the rivers and seas. Because seas is sometimes very, uh, you could say, unsafe for transport, especially the one of the seven seas. There's a very wide sea. That is why I recommend that we implement a wider radar signal and a wider communicative signal for them to easily navigate and communicate with each other, so that they don't crash each other, and they can move from place to place safer and accessible as possible. Maybe that's from me. What about you, Mr. Han?
I think the first uh, start a program about to develop national railway. It, we must identify first the major rivers in Indonesia, especially river, and we will plan to integrate the major rivers. Like we can see the Kapos River, the Barito River, and Makam River have the same water source in the mountain in the remote area in the mountain region in Kalimantan. I see it's a lot of potential to build the canal to one major river to another major river. Like we can sail from Samarinda to Pontianak uh, directly, no, but not like that. And then next is uh, sunrise and modernize the ship across the river. I see the ship in Makam River. I think a lot of them still below the standard of safety. And then we build infrastructure like port, because we can see the Kalimantan three major river, and one of the most beautiful is we can build a port like in another city like Tagaro, Cotabato, which is Malab, and Makamulu, like the Danube River, because I see the Danube River, every city through by Danube River is built upon, so that city, the cities around Danube River can develop more than the other river without the port. Yeah, I think that's all my opinion. Oh yeah, I think with this program, it will empower the local economies too, because if we build port right in Malak, I think Malak be can be as big as Samarinda too, as developed as Samarinda too, because of the river and the logistic, because of that logistic to the flow like a river in this place. Yeah, I think that's my opinion.
Before I show you this the last question, but I think I have one question more. If I see we have more water transportation there, so my question is, why you think about how if we use water transportation like other public transportation, like bus and taxi and another transportation in the line?
Yep.
Uh, in my opinion, for a ship to be considered common transportation like bus or cars, it is, in my opinion, is not possible because of the train's way of transport stuff and transport people. Uh, Unlike cars that uses fast traveling speeds and uh, effective ways of navigating, the ships is considered not very on those two terms, and it is a very slow way to transport and a very not efficient way to navigate. So, in my opinion, uh, its ships can be considered a common transport around this. If you want to consider it as a car, like a car or a bus. And the second one is it is not very common if you, well, compared to planes, that if you compare it to planes, ship is a very common stuff around here, especially near rivers. But even though it is considered common, it is not very common as cars or bus because they have a very limited resources to to maintain said ship. Unlike uh, bus or cars, ship uses many resources each travel. That is why it is not very good way to use ships as a common transport. What about you?
About me, about the ship as the public transport, I think for the short haul is ineffective. It is because too slow for that, and I think for the long haul, I think that's way more effective than the other transportation. It is because other transportation cannot bring much of people to one place with only one transportation. You can think bus can uh, 8 cars or 80 people can bring to one place, one stop. But I think ship can bring for 100 people only one night. For a long haul, I think for the public transportation, I think is effective for the long haul than the short haul. Like for river crossing, I think it's ineffective because it is more effective than the other transportation. But in long haul, I think it's still effective to way bring people to another place. Yeah, I think that's my opinion.
Thank you very much for Mr. Dani and Mr. Rehan for giving us your opinions and perceptions. This station really gave us a lot of knowledge about water transportation. So, okay, guys. And that brings us to the end of today's journey across the waterways of the world. From ancient boat carved by hand to modern ship powered by advanced technology, water transportation has played a crucial role in shaping our past, supporting our present, and steering us into the future. Whether it's moving people, shipping goods, and connection remote regions. The importance of water transport is undeniable and it continues to improve with innovation and sustainability in mind. Thank you so much for listening to the TBI series. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave the review, and share it with fellow curious minds. Until next time, stay curious, stay connected, and keep exploring the world around you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Goodbye.